Once, in a quiet town where life moved slowly, there lived a boy named Ronald. Ronald was known for one strange habit. No matter what happened, he always looked for something good. When it rained, he said the fields would grow. When plans failed, he said new paths would appear. And when things went wrong, he never asked, "Why me?" He asked, "What now?" The adults worried about him. "He doesn't see the world clearly," they whispered. "Sooner or later, life will disappoint him." So one day they decided to teach Ronald a lesson. They led him into an old barn and closed the door. Inside there was nothing but a huge pile of horse manure, almost reaching the ceiling. They waited for crying. They expected anger. They prepared for disappointment. But when they opened the door later, they froze. Ronald was smiling. He was digging through the pile with his bare hands, working tirelessly, his face bright with excitement. "Ronald!" they shouted. "What are you doing in there?" Ronald looked up, eyes shining, and said, "Well, with this much manure, there must be a horse somewhere." The adults fell silent. For the first time, they understood that Ronald was not blind to hardship. He simply chose to see hope where others saw only trouble. And as Ronald grew older, that way of thinking stayed with him. Ronald's family was poor, but his mother and father taught him the true meaning of sharing and kindness. One Christmas was especially cold, with snow covering the streets. Ronald quietly hoped for a small gift, perhaps a new pair of shoes or a simple toy. Knowing his son's wish, his father took his last coins and went out to buy something for him. On the way home, the father met a neighbor who was suffering in the cold without a coat or shoes. Faced with this sight, the father made a difficult choice. He gave the gift to the neighbor and returned home empty-handed. That Christmas night, Ronald did not receive the gift he had hoped for, yet he remained cheerful. He understood his father's choice and recognized the horse hidden beneath the hardship. He learned that helping others and sharing with those in need mattered more than receiving gifts. Though the house was cold, Ronald's heart was warm, filled with pride, gratitude, and kindness. For many years, Ronald had only one pair of shoes. They were very old. The bottoms were thin, and the front was broken. Winter came early that year, and the wind was very cold. Christmas was coming, and the town was full of happy people. But for Ronald, Christmas felt far away. He heard a strange story from people in the town. They said that on Christmas Day, if a person walked into any shop and spoke their wish to God, the shop owner would make that wish come true. Ronald believed the story with a child's simple and innocent faith. His feet were freezing, and more than anything, he wished for a warm pair of shoes. So, on Christmas Day, he stood in front of a fancy shoe store. Inside, warm yellow lights shone on the shoes. They looked shiny and smelled like new leather. Ronald saw a strong and warm pair of shoes, and he loved them. He took a deep breath to be brave. He pushed the door open and walked in. The shop owner was a man with a kind face. He looked at the boy in thin clothes. Ronald walked closer. His voice was shaking, but he was hopeful. "Sir, today is Christmas. I really like those shoes. People say you can talk to God. Can you please tell him that I wish for those shoes?" The owner looked down at Ronald's feet inside the old, broken shoes. Then he looked at Ronald's bright eyes. He understood immediately. He smiled and touched Ronald's shoulder gently. "Okay, young boy, I will speak to God for you. Please wait here." The owner took the new shoes and went to the back of the shop. Ronald waited with a beating heart. He imagined how good the new shoes would feel. After a few minutes, the owner came back, but he did not have a pair of shoes. He held only one shoe in his hand. He gave the one shoe to Ronald and said seriously but kindly, "My boy, I spoke to God. He says he loves you very much, but he can only give you one shoe." Ronald was confused. He held the single shoe and asked, "Only one, sir? What about the other one?" The owner looked into Ronald's eyes and said clearly, "God says you must earn the money for the other shoe yourself. This is how you show you are good enough for this gift." Ronald was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "How much money do I need to earn?" $2, the owner answered. "I will keep the other shoe here for you. When you have the money, come back." Ronald held the new shoe tight. He nodded his head. "I understand. I will earn the money. Please keep the other shoe safe for me." Ronald went home. He did not feel sad. Instead, he felt strong. He started a plan to earn $2. In the cold winter days, Ronald worked hard. He collected old bottles and scrap metal. He cleaned snow for people. He saved every penny he made. Finally, the day came. Ronald ran to the shop. He held the old, crumpled money in his hand. It was wet with his sweat. "Sir, I am back! I have the $2, Ronald said happily. He put the money on the table. The shop owner smiled big. He was proud of the boy. He took the second shoe from the shelf, cleaned it, and gave it to Ronald. "Good job, young boy, you did it. This is your reward." For the first time, Ronald had a brand new pair of shoes. But he felt something more important. He was very happy, not because it was a free gift, but because he worked hard for it. Time passed, and the poor boy grew up. He did many jobs. He was a lifeguard, a sports announcer, and a famous movie star. Later, Ronald learned the true price of those shoes was $38. Half price was $19. But the shop owner only asked him for $2. He did this to teach Ronald a lesson. God will not give you everything you want. He gives you only a part. You must work hard to get the rest. This story is not really about poverty or shoes. It is about how we face life when things are not fair. Ronald did not have an easy life. He was poor, often cold, and often had less than others. But he had something very special, a hopeful way of thinking. When others saw problems, Ronald looked for meaning. When life gave him less, he looked for what he could do next. God did not give Ronald everything he wanted. He gave him only one shoe, not because God was unkind, but because God wanted Ronald to grow. That one shoe taught Ronald an important lesson. Some things are given to us. Some things must be earned. And the greatest happiness comes from working for what we value. Ronald was proud, not because the shoe was new, but because he worked hard to deserve it. Thank you for watching.